Hey everyone, welcome to Uncanny JMen. We're back again with another episode 5 of 6 for Miss Marvel. So we are nearing the end here. So be warned, spoilers ahead. Obviously, we're discussing episode 5. So anything before that, including episode 5, is on the table. And I'm sure we're going to speculate a little bit about what's going to happen in that final episode.
Definitely. Yeah.
So let's get into it. I don't have a ton to talk about in this one. I feel like there's a lot of it was self-explanatory. They were continuing the bigger theme around family and it not just being a Kamala thing, but her whole family thing. So we got to spend a lot more time during the partition with Aisha. Why she may have not joined back up with the bad guys.
Yeah. And I have to say, when I watch these episodes, I typically watch it once with my wife, just watching it to enjoy. And then I watch it a second time with a notepad to record notes and thoughts that I want to talk about. It was so difficult watching Aisha and Hashan, not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but watching the two of them, having their interaction and everything, because I didn't want to take notes. I kept finding myself just enjoying watching this little love story unfold. I didn't feel like I should be taking notes on a Marvel show. But it was really enjoyable just watching the two of them just from different worlds coming together and experiencing life together. So very different, very interesting.
I feel like there's going to be some people who feel the same way about Moon Knight as this is like, this is a Miss Marvel show. Where's Miss Marvel? Where they're like, this is a Moon Knight show. Where's the costumed Moon Knight? It was like, it shows that they're not, the focus of these shows are not on the superhero necessarily. It's on the people, and the superhero happens to be one of the people. And so they're trying to set up this really like the worlds, the story, the background. And that's what they continue in this one.
Yeah, it's making for some great storytelling. It really is.
I agree. Although it does hurt a little bit that they introduce Aisha. We spend some time with her and then she dies in that same episode. I thought we were going to get a lot more of her, honestly.
I did too. We did get enough, though, to know that the rumors we were hearing from the Illuminatis were true. I heard she killed a man. Well, in like the very first scene that we see her, she turns around and kills someone that's chasing after her. The rumor of I heard she had a second family. Well, yeah, she kind of did. So it's just very interesting watching those things unfold. We kind of knew that those rumors were going to turn out to be true, but watching how they became true or how they were true was very interesting.
Definitely. And we definitely saw like more like the family side, like eyes go purple, but it almost felt like it's hard to tell if it's powers, how it's going, because it almost feels like it was Aisha who brought Kamala forward or back in time. Like she has temporal powers through the Bengal. But not really, because then she was dead and Kamala stayed there and then later got teleported back. So it seemed like it was the Bengal the whole time. But
it felt to me like she was casting an enchantment on the Bengal itself. So kind of like where we saw Odin charm Mjolnir to bestow powers in the original Thor. It felt similar to that sort of thing to me. Like she was charming the Bengal to have this power to be able to find a hero and pull that hero back to help her in that moment.
Although she thought the hero was her daughter, just grown up.
Yeah, it seemed like that at very first, though it did seem like she maybe caught on halfway through.
Yeah,
it's a little hard to tell if she was delirious or if she actually knew what was happening. Either way, she knew that person, whoever it was there to save her daughter, help her daughter out.
Yeah, and when we did hear her say the words, seek what, I wrote it down.
What you seek is seeking you.
What you seek is seeking you that phrase came before it being on the Bengal. So yeah, that must be the enchantment style where she like kind of enchanted the Bengal to say that phrase, and that's what brought the person, being Kamala, to the past to help out. And I feel like a lot of people were saying it. You said it last week. Yeah, Kamala was the stars.
Yeah.
So she was actually there. It's not just a memory being played. She was actually there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of people, I feel like I'm seeing comments from people saying about that her going back in time breaks the time travel. And I haven't seen any of those theory videos that I've seen people putting out on it, but I'm seeing some people speculating that this breaks Marvel's theory of time travel. I would say it doesn't, because the idea in Marvel time travel is they go back in time, they create a branch, and then the branch carries forward. Well, people are saying Kamala can't have gone back to save her grandmother, because then they would create a branch, and so she'd have to be coming back to the branch. The thing is, like, because creating that branch creates Kamala to then create the branch again, it is cycling. And so even if there's a very first one, then maybe it wasn't Kamala that got called back in that very first one. It could be someone else creates the first branch. But either way, it's creating a loop where there's a Kamala going back and helping a grandmother to create a new Kamala. So even if it's not her grandmother, this is just my thought process on it. Even if it's not her grandmother, it is the grandmother to another Kamala that can go back and help the grandmother.
So in the Marvel movies, at least, what they've stated for time travel, they were going back in time to change something. So Kamala didn't go back in time to change, and didn't change a single thing. Everything that happened due to time travel happened due to time travel, it happened in the past. Then they went forward in time naturally, came back and did the exact same thing that was to happen. In Marvel, they were looking at going back in time to change something. And they said that doesn't work, because you're leaving your timeline to go back to change something that will not really affect our current timeline, because there's a new thing being created. In this situation, it's a closed loop. It's not creating new lines. It's a line went back to the exact thing that they were supposed to do. It would be like saying, I'm going to put my dishes away, and then 5 minutes from now, I'm going to go back in time to have put my dish, or a future me put my dish. It doesn't matter. The same thing happened. It's so to me, it's a closed loop, so it can't break any of that time travel rules.
Yeah. So whether it's a bunch of Kamalas going up back and helping a bunch of grandmothers, or if it's one loop of the same Kamala hitting the same grandmother every single time, both ways work, and both ways satisfy the way Marvel has time travel set up. So in my mind, I'm okay with this.
Same.
Yeah.
And her time travel, I want to say, this is something that's very interesting. So in the comics, they do go at give the audience a view of what happens with family in the past, not necessarily Kamala seeing that. What's interesting is they're almost taking Kamala's actual powers and split them into different components. This is kind of how I'm viewing it. Is so in the comics, technically, Kamala's powers aren't stretchy. It's not her stretching. Technically, her powers are temporal mass exchange, basically. I forget exactly how they phrase it, but she borrows and gives mass between her past and future herselves. So in the comics, there's an arc where she uncontrollably will shrink and grow and stuff like that, because it needs to balance where in the past she had stolen mass from her at that time. And so she'll just randomly shrink because that mass was stolen by past self. So it's not like she's growing really big or stretching and breaking laws of physics. The way they explain that away is borrowing mass from somewhere else, meaning herself, past and present. So she has a part of her powers that is stretching, a part of her powers that is temporal in some ways.
Yeah.
They kind of split that into these hard light, stretchy powers. And now we got some temporal movement for her using the bangle. So if it was done once, could it be done again? I doubt we'll ever see it again, but it could be. Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. So was there anything else you wanted to discuss about the going into the past partition?
The only thing that I wanted to say, just touching back on Kamala being the one to create the light, the stars, for her Nani to be able to find to find her great grandfather. It no, I don't know if this is a coincidence or what, but it just felt very interesting that when the light platform broke and became the stars that then floated forward. When that was happening, Kamala was saying, "Yes, go to Nani Abu." She said that she was directing it to her grandmother, the young version of her grandmother. But as she says that, the platform breaks apart. Like she gets hit and the platform breaks apart. But instead of just breaking apart and disappearing, it breaks apart and goes and floats directly to Nani Abu. It just felt kind of interesting, and it brought a little bit of a question to me: like, was she just controlling it there? Was the hard light listening to her? It hasn't. That's not really how it's worked in the past. But I just thought it was very interesting that right after she said that, the light then did drift right towards him.
See, in the moment when I was watching it, at least the first time, I thought it was Nani who was doing like the crystal break into stars,
Mm.
like where she was using the stars, but it doesn't show her eyes going purple, which, but we also don't get a good view. But we
Yeah.
do see Nani actually wearing the bangle on her tiny little arm at one point. So she does have the bangle on her. She has the blood in her. Could she have a power? Does it have to do with the lights? Was it actually her manipulating light? Because we can now see that it's not just Kamala who does hard light-ish or energy kind of powers because of Kamran now. So
Yeah.
it means that any Jinn maybe can have powers.
Maybe any Jinn, though I don't think so. I think it has to be one that has kind of a foot in both realms. So Kamala is part Jinn. We know she's also part human. And they talk about it in an earlier episode that being a part of both worlds allows her control over this power. Well, at that time, the question came up to me, all right, well, we have Kamran. His mother is a Jinn. We don't know anything about his father. Could he also, if what would happen if he put on the bangle? Well, he never got around to putting on the bangle, but he does have the light. So now the two people that we know have that power are half Jinn and possibly half human.
One is half Jinn, possibly half human. The other is a quarter Jinn.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but part Jinn, part human.
So like Kamala's mom, Kamala's brother, and Kamala's mom's mom, and maybe her cousins are all part Jinn.
Mm-hmm.
So they all potentially could have powers. Now, if we look at how powers were obtained, we have the bangle, and we have what was that? Like it was the bad lady sacrificing herself to the veil and then infusing her essence with Kamran.
Yeah. The major questions on what exactly are the powers of the Jinn.
So a thing to consider is they say that in their world is a world of light, that it's a world made of light, basically. So a thought is that the veil, when you're crossing the veil, that they may be turning back into their true form of being light, and that the body that they need in that world of the earth, of this current realm, needs a body. And so going through the veil freed that body, basically got rid of the body and returned them to their true form, which is just light, if they live in a light world. The thing with that is, if that's the case, that means that when they were coming through the veil this direction, they went from light and bodies were created for them, if that's the case. Another thing to consider is that it was a crystalline structure that shows up over the body, and then everything disintegrates. And it's almost like a reverse Inhuman transformation.
Yeah.
We still see a crystalline thing, but the people are being destroyed inside instead of being evolved or manipulated or changed, metamorphized. It did feel kind of inhuman-y with like a Terrigen Mist, with the Veil working in that role. So is the Bengal infused with Veil power? And that's why Kamala got powers, and that's how Kamran got powers, is by this Veil essence being in a part of both ways. I'm not sure. It's I don't know if we're gonna get that answer either.
Yeah. I mean, they talk about the Bengal as if the Bengal is kind of the key to opening the Veil. So we do know there's a connection between the Bengal and the Veil. So yeah, it definitely could be that you have to unlock the power through this mystical energy that is shared between the two. And she used that energy as she was passing into the Veil and cast her spell or whatever to unlock the powers with Kamran.
So do you think Kamran is a good guy just now? Now he's just a good guy, or do you think he's going to flip back to being kind of a bad guy?
I am on board with him being a good guy at this point. I feel like there's questions early on, and then he proved himself to be good, and I trust what he has done to this point. I feel like if he was bad, then a lot of what he did earlier just doesn't make sense. So I do feel like he is going to turn out to be good, unless he's being possessed in some way by Najma, but I don't think that's the case. I think he is actually good, and that the bad guy for the next episode is probably going to be the Department of Damage Control. But I do think it's significant that when Kamala gets the powers, her initial reaction is to use it defensively and to protect people, to protect things. He gets the power. His first time using it is offensively, firing out something at that drone. It's not to create a shield to protect them. It's to attack the drone. I do think that is a very telling difference between the two of them. One using the powers offense, one using the powers defense.
Yeah, although I'm not sure what they're going to do with his character moving forward. Is he going to be an additional hero? Because he's not really he's not a someone in the comics. There is a Kamran, not this character. So like they kind of like almost giving him powers similar to a lot of the other cosmic Marvel people. So Spectrum, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, Kamran. But like I don't see Kamran going into the Marvels movie. So
yeah, I don't think so.
Are the DC gonna capture him? Gonna kill him? Is he gonna take the heat for being the light generating hero?
Yeah, he very well could. He has those powers now, so it'd be a way of explaining it and getting Kamala off the hook.
It would, and the hard part is that he thinks his mom's alive, and I feel like that's a matter of contention that could come up. Maybe that's a season 2 thing, but that he might see his mom sacrificing herself and no longer being around Kamala's fault. I could see that, and then causing some friction where they end up fighting each other. We know shows love to do the whole movies, Marvel, 2 heroes with the exact same powers, or hero villain, exact same powers, fight each other. We now have 2 people with the exact same powers that have the ability to fight each other. So that could be our season 2, is Kamran turns to being evil, being bad, and fighting her. But it looks like the main bad guys are all defeated and gone. And now the other main bad guys of that one agent from DODC being the bad guy in the final.
Yeah. And I did go back and I watched some of the trailers from before, some of the scenes from the trailers before, to try and see, okay, what are we not seeing yet? Because honestly, this episode felt to me like a season finale. It, like, everything got tied up really nicely in a bow, and they could have ended it if it wasn't for the last 5 minutes of the show, where suddenly the Department of Damage Control popped up, and it's like, oh, that's right, they're here, aren't they? But I went back and I looked at some of the scenes, and for the most part, all the scenes with people in full gear with weapons going after people, hunting people through a school, going all over the place, those are the scenes that we're missing at this point. So you know the Department of Damage Control, this next episode is going to be stock full of that group trying to hunt down Kamran and or Kamala. But I also think like one scene, the scene that to me was the most significant in the trailers, which we haven't actually seen yet, is the 4 random figures walking down the like popping up in the street with smoke around them.
But are those not the 4 other bad guys that were just defeated?
I don't know. I don't remember that scene though.
I don't remember that scene, but the silhouettes match the people we've seen.
They definitely could.
So it could
be that exact scene isn't going to be in there in the exact same way, but still,
it's a good point.
I don't know. That was the one scene that kept me up all night when we were coming up to the show. Was who is this group of 4? And technically, they have not appeared. Like that exact scene has not happened. So we'll see. Hopefully, it'll be in next week's so I can finally sleep. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it has. Stick around for post credits, no matter what. It's finale, post credits leading into the Marvels movie. It's got to happen. We got to have a Captain Marvel cameo, something in that post credit. How they're gonna wrap up DODC? It really just is that agent lady being taken down by the other agent guy who seems to be nicer. Something like that. But I will say, DODC hasn't felt to me like a real, true, like big bad villain to be like the final episode is only them, but there's no one else it could be at this point. And if they are setting up the DODC as being a bad guy that will span through a few more Disney Plus, I believe Hawkeye and dealt with them some, Spider-Man dealt with them some. We'll probably see She-Hulk could deal with them because we're going to be getting a lot of like lawyer side things. That would make sense. So it could be kind of setting them up as they're going to be in a lot of Disney Plus shows as the kind of villains. Yeah. Final thing I want to say with the Circle Q being blown up by the DODC. So it looked like Kamran hit the drone and then a missile, because of that, missed the room and actually hit the Circle Q below. Yes. So they were just going to blow up Bruno and Kamran, just blow them up. Yeah. Because the best way to stop someone from destroying a city is to destroy a city. Yeah. I have that note in a similar note. Damage control is not doing a very good job controlling damage. Yeah. I mean, they cause damage and then clean it up afterwards. Yeah. So, yeah, they're the bad guys now. Yeah. All of the Jinn are gone. Yeah. So it's just the descendants of the Jinn. Yes. We haven't seen Kamala's outfit yet, although we got another component. We got the lightning bolt-like shape, the necklace. So another component put together. So she has to get her full outfit in this next episode because we know it exists. That's scenes from trailers we haven't seen. That's true. Most likely it's going to be post-credit. They're going to pull a Daredevil on us and never get his outfit until a post-credits. And then we're like, you teased us with this in the trailers leading in. We got a full 6 episodes, no outfit. Finally get an outfit. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, or the mom, now that she's accepting Kamala as what she is, she takes all the pieces and sews up the suit herself. We know she can put things together really fast. Power, maybe? I don't know. But she can put things together, so it could be the mom finally stepping in and making her a costume that is not Little Hulk, but is her own character. I can see something like that coming together. I have to say, the mom had my 2 favorite lines in this episode. Both came from Kamala's mom in succession. So when she's worrying about Kamala and she's saying pick up the phone and everything, the grandmother talks about putting a chip in her dog when the dog ran away. She responds with, "Believe me, if it was legal, I would do it." And I'm like, that sounds about right. Sounds like something mom would say. And I was like, okay, that's my line in the episode. And then she turned around and was told about Find My Phone. She says, like spyware for parents? Why am I just hearing about this? Just that whole scene of the mom, like, being such a mom, worried about her daughter,
I just wanted to point out, I loved that scene. I thought that was hilarious.
She's, in my opinion, she stole the show. Like she's the one of the best, if not one of the best characters in the entire show. I love her. Like,
yeah,
so good.
Yeah, she's the overbearing, over-controlling mom, and yet she is such an amazing character. Even in that role, it doesn't feel like that's not normally the type of role you look to and think, yes, that's someone I respect right there. Like that's the character I really like. But
we also don't get a lot of the parents of superheroes in our movies or shows. Like, we never see Steve Rogers' parents. We see Tony's parents, but we also there's a lot of dysfunction from those parents. Hulk, no. Scarlet Witch, no. Kind of, but not really.
We see parents in flashbacks.
Yeah,
but they're not part of the story anymore.
We kind of get it with Black Widow in her movie with like her surrogate kind of family. I would kind of count that as the closest family that we have. But eventually we'll get Fantastic Four, and that's an actual family of superheroes. So all right. Final thoughts. Or was there anything else you wanted to talk about in this episode before we get to final thoughts?
I do want to say what's coming up next. I would like to kind of speculate a little on what's coming up in the last episode. So we talked a little about that, about what was in the trailers, about people showing up, about them hunting around. One thing I do want to add, and this might be a spoiler outside of the show, because I'm pulling from something outside of the show here, but there's a cruise ship, Disney Wish, that is set to sail. Its first voyage, I believe, is July 14th, right after Miss Marvel ends. And they have a thing called Quantum Encounter. There was a show that was put together just for this cruise line. It's like a dinner show, but it has Marvel heroes facing a threat just for the show. And you can find it online now because they've already had some test runs and everything. So you can find Quantum Encounter online. I do want to say Miss Marvel is in it. Okay. And so I don't know if this is a spoiler. Hopefully this isn't a spoiler for the last episode, but it does kind of hint at it. I do just want to say she is in it. She has her full outfit on. And at least at that time, she is, quote, an Avenger in training.
Post credits of the final episode is going to be Captain Marvel, like bringing her under her wing.
Yeah, and possibly literally, because she's actually under the wing of Captain America at that point, or Captain Falcon. I don't know, Captain Falcon.
Captain America, just Captain America, Sam.
Right, exactly. They make a joke about it in the Quantum Encounter thing.
Okay,
so people feel free to go on and find it on your own if you want to know more, but. I did find that interesting, because I was like, wait a minute, she's in this fully suited up as an Avenger in training. What's going to happen in this last episode? Is it going to reach that point? I don't know if it will. And I feel like if it does, it's most likely to be a post-credit scene. But I did just find that very interesting, and it could be telling for what happens next week. So that's my last speculation.
Okay. That'd be interesting. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It seems like that's where they're kind of heading, like Young Avengers in a way. Yeah. Great. Well, all right. Let's do final thoughts. Up until this point, we've got one episode left. How do you feel this episode went?
Now, I've absolutely loved the show right on the way through, and this episode was kind of what I was expecting from this episode. I feel like every Disney Plus Marvel show to date, the second to last episode, or maybe it's the fifth episode or whatever, but like there's one episode right towards the end where it's just all about the history. We've given you hints of things up until this point, and now here's the episode where we explain everything before it ends. And so I kind of knew that episode was coming here, and it kind of did. But the way it did it was by taking Kamala out completely and telling someone else's story. And I loved that story, and I'm so sad that we can't hear more of it, it was just such a fun little tale about Aisha and Hashan, and they had so much personality. Each one of them they were very much their own fleshed out character within like 5 minutes of them showing up on screen. And so seeing them coming together and starting a family and trying to just beat the odds, they didn't want to be heroes. They didn't want to do all this powerful stuff. They really just wanted to be a family. And so it was just very refreshing to be able to watch that happen. Them dealing with real world problems as well as Marvel problems and really just wanting to live. So I really enjoyed that half. Second half was also fun, and it felt a little surreal to then jump back into the show because it was almost like, oh, that's right, we're watching a Miss Marvel episode. When she showed back up, it felt out of place. It was like, I feel like you shouldn't be in this show about these two people falling in love and starting a family. But it was her show, and so it was interesting to be able to watch that unfold. So I loved the episode. I'm going to go back and watch it, even though I'm done with all my analysis on it and everything. I'm going to go back and watch it just to watch this whole thing unfold again. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. What about you?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the episode. I love the being in the past with, I mean, one thing the show does great. I was talking to someone at work the other day about how there's not enough of like slice of life style shows in America that get put out in America. It's got to be sitcoms. It's got to be either funny, action, something that there's not just like people living their lives and it's wholesome. This show does that side so well. All the wholesome family side of it is amazing. I'll air my concerns still. I don't think that I think we're falling into the trap Marvel has in the past of forgettable villains. I want to say like Najima and her group are like fully forgettable, but their plot wrapped up already. And it didn't feel like a big conflict. It was basically like the veil is here now, and you just the bad guy sacrifices themselves to close the veil, and that's over and done with. The bad guys are all gone. The veil's gone. The thing we were worried about the whole time, done with, one episode left to go. And then a second villain showing up, even though they were introduced earlier, but haven't been in it for like 3 episodes. So that's a concern of mine, is that like the hero and the families, amazing. Villains, take it or leave it for me at this point. Everyone's going to have their own opinions on that, as well as like loving them, hating them, feeling like it doesn't matter, does matter. We'll see for this next episode. I think the result is just Kamran. Whatever happens with Kamran is now the legacy of that story of Najima and the Jinn. So yeah. We'll see. I like the episode. I definitely agree. It felt kind of like a jarring feel when it's like, oh yeah, Miss Marvel's here. Yeah. But we'll be back in that, and we'll see what happens with the DODC. I'm excited.
Me too.
Great.
All right. Yeah. So that's it for the penultimate episode of Miss Marvel. We will be back again next week to talk about the finale, the last episode of season 1 of Miss Marvel. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to our channel to watch more, and write in the comments what you felt about this episode. Did you like it? Do you have questions about how things worked? Did the time travel work for you, or are you still skeptical on it? Go ahead and let us know, and we'll be happy to talk with you about it. Until next time.
If happen in the finale, write it below before the finale happens. That way you can prove, yeah, that's right. I knew what was going to happen. I knew.
Yeah, take the credit now. Yeah. And then if it doesn't come true, you never have to reference it again. Just don't tell anyone you wrote it there.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for watching.